Well, Super Tuesday is behind us. Vice President Joe Biden won 9 of the 14 contests. Senator Bernie Sanders won 4. And billionaire Mike Bloomberg won 1, the American Samoa. Mike Bloomberg has announced today that he is dropping out of the race based off of the results from yesterday, which were quite disappointing for him. I had supported Mike Bloomberg. In fact, I had done a video not too long ago saying I like Mike. Mike had sent me a number of letters and door hangers requesting my support, which I was really leaning toward that way. Like I said, I did the video for him, but I was a Joe Biden fan or supporter in the beginning, and it wasn't until Joe had what I perceived to be some stumbles that I started to look elsewhere. And Mike Bloomberg seemed the most viable candidate to me when it came to who could defeat Donald Trump. But after a strong South Carolina debate and a strong South Carolina primary performance, I rethought my thoughts actually on Joe Biden and really decided right up until the day of that I was going to throw my support behind Joe. I was actually on my way to the voting. I voted in North Carolina. Polls open at 6:30. I got up at about 4:45. Did my usual morning routine, and then I left for the polls about 6 o'clock. Got there about 6:15 or so when I was in line. It's about the 14th, 15th person in line, I think, as you can see in the video. I didn't really count back, but I think it's about 14, 15 or so back. And it was when I was standing in line that I decided that I was going to basically ride or die with Joe. It's like I like Mike, but I know Joe. And that was really what it came down to for me. The South Carolina performance really aided in that. And I saw in that performance, the debate performance, and then the way he actually performed in the primary, which was an overwhelming victory. That helped sway me. And so I was one of those millions of folk, thousands upon thousands, millions, whatever, that decided within the last 30 hours or so that Joe was going to be the guy. And like I said, it really boiled down to the fact that I knew him from his time in the Senate, from his 8 years serving as President Barack Obama's running mate, that and then seeing the performance in South Carolina, which reminded me of who Joe was, that I ultimately decided that I was going to go ahead and support Joe. The President Donald Trump had, did a really a good job, I think, of muddying the waters a little bit with that Ukraine Bo Hunter. Bo was a late son, but the Hunter Biden deal, and I didn't particularly like. I think Joe should have, probably attacked it more, and everything just didn't seem all that together. And I was really uncertain if Joe really wanted it, and I think that was the key. Did he want to do this? Was he doing it out of some sense of loyalty? And I think when I saw him in South Carolina, I saw the performance in South Carolina, both in the debate stage and also on the primary, the way he performed, that I was convinced that yes, he does want it, and if he wants it, then I want it for him. And I said, I'm supporting. So, like I said, it's not so much a knock against Mike, even though Mike could have performed better in the 2 debates. But I still like Mike. I didn't have as much issue with him as some other folk might have. But it was more of, I know Joe, and I'm going to roll with Joe. All right, so Bernie Sanders is still formidable. He's still in it to win it. His opponents his supporters are still fervent supporters. And Elizabeth Warren is still there. I don't think she has a viable path to the nomination. And when and if she gets out, I think her supporters, probably the majority, will probably go to Bernie. So I'm pretty much looking at this as a two-man race, and we'll see what happens. But I feel that Joe could take the battle to Trump. Is a reason why Trump did what he did, as far as that so-called perfect call, trying to get dirt up on Joe, because he knows Joe's not who he wants to face, and he certainly wouldn't want to lose to Joe. I mean, he can't run against President Obama. That's the best thing that could have happened if President Obama could have ran against President Trump. But the next best thing is Obama's number 2 going up against him. And trust me, Trump don't want to lose to Biden, because he would see that as a defeat to Obama. So that right there is worth the price of admission. Like I said, I would have loved to have seen Bloomberg debate Trump, billionaire versus so-called billionaire. But without having Bloomberg to do it, can't have Obama do it. The next best thing is to have Biden do it. So I'm looking forward to that. If he wins the Democratic nomination. If you don't, Bernie, I throw my support behind Bernie if that's the case, and I would hope that Bernie supporters would do the same if Joe were to get the nomination. But we got a process to go. Got a little ways to go. So as Trump is fond of saying, we'll see what happens.